In the United States, on the 2nd of April, 1931, Dr. Bruce Russell, a retired physician, headed to Death Valley, located in eastern California, to inspect land he had bought cheaply a long time ago. To develop and utilize this desert area, he brought in specialized equipment and began searching for a place to drill a well. This was because if a well could be found, the area, even if barren, could potentially be developed as a tourist destination. Using drilling equipment, he noticed that the drill spun idly at a depth of 35 feet in a particular area while boring underground. Thinking this might be a natural cave and that it could perhaps become a tourist attraction, he began excavating the spot more extensively. The cavity was much larger than expected, and for internal exploration, he tied a rope around himself, took a lamp, and entered. Walking through the labyrinthine cave, he discovered a space that appeared to be a room. Stepping inside and shining his lamp, he realized this was no ordinary cave. This was because in the room Russell entered, there were 3 mummies that appeared to be human. Furthermore, these mummies had unusually large statures, around 9 feet tall, far exceeding average human height, and the place Russell had found was not a natural cave, but a vast underground city. Hastily returning to the surface, Russell began serious exploration of the cave from the next day, discovering various artifacts in addition. Although he was not a professional, even to his eyes, this clearly seemed like an immense discovery. However, hitting the limits of his professional knowledge, Russell found it difficult to ascertain anything beyond the superficial appearances, such as the origin of the ancient civilization or the identity of the seemingly giant mummies. Pondering this, he sealed the entrance to the site with wooden boards, covered it with sand to conceal it, promising to return later. 15 years later, in 1946, Dr. Bruce Russell met his former patient and a wealthy man, Howard Hill. While talking with him, Russell felt that this person was the ideal individual to excavate the underground city with him, so he shared the story of the underground city and giant mummies he had discovered 15 years earlier. Russell even showed him some of the artifacts he had personally excavated. Howard, who had some knowledge of archaeology, realized these were not fakes and decided to proceed with the excavation project alongside Russell. Subsequently, they established Amazing Explorations Incorporated, attracted investors, and even took some people to personally see the artifacts from the underground city and the giant mummies. During that process, it was revealed that the artifacts dated back tens of thousands of years, and that the animal hides used in the robes the mummies were wearing were not from animals currently existing on Earth. This sparked major controversy in the academic community. Such content was even published in the local newspaper, the San Diego Union Tribune, on the 5th of August, 1947. Evidence of a giant age found. Dr. Bruce Russell explored deep, intricate underground tunnels in Death Valley, and there he discovered 3 mummies of giants, reaching 9 feet in height, and artifacts estimated to be tens of thousands of years old. As the newspaper article was reported, the ancient underground city discovered by Russell began to receive significant public attention as well. Russell and Howard actively participated in interviews, strongly asserting that the underground city and giant mummies were real. In the cave, 3 mummies of giants lay side by side. They were clad in leather robes, which resembled dyed sheepskin. But upon examination, they were found to be from an animal currently unknown. Nearby were various artifacts similar to those of the Timbisha, and granite inscribed with hieroglyphics. The Timbisha, he mentioned, are the indigenous American Indians who settled and lived in Death Valley for over 1,000 years. They are also the people on Earth who know and understand Death Valley best. Russell even went directly to them to ask about the underground city and giant mummies found beneath the ground. Although communication wasn't smooth, as the tribal elders only spoke the ancient Timbisha language, they reportedly mentioned fragmented keywords such as place of rituals, many animals, and underground people. Upon hearing the elders' explanation, Russell couldn't help but be astonished. This was because, during his exploration, he had discovered a space at the end of the tunnel that resembled the Room of Rituals described by the Timbisha tribe. Russell claimed that the Room of Rituals was filled with massive animal bones. Judging by the skeletons, it's presumed to be a collection of bones from saber-toothed tigers or mammoth-like animals that lived on ancient Earth. There was a reason why they continued to make various claims to the academic community and the public. This was because most scholars took a very skeptical stance, given that Russell was not a professional, and the artifacts and mummies found dated back to an incredibly distant past. Underground giants and ancient ruins discovered by amateur archaeologists. However, professional archaeologists are skeptical. At the time, the archaeological community questioned the authenticity of the exploration results, pointing out that Russell was not a professional archaeologist with a doctoral degree. Subsequently, archaeologists from the Natural History Museum of Los Angeles County also released an official statement, saying it was impossible for the ancient saber-toothed tigers and mammoths they claimed to have coexisted, as they appeared on Earth with a time difference of 10 to 13 million years. In response, Dr. Russell argued that the 3 giant mummies and the underground ruins in Death Valley were merely a small fraction of what we would discover in the future. He reiterated that their exploration was merely scratching the surface of a lost civilization and requested archaeologists to accompany them on the site exploration. Howard, who began the excavation project with him, also desperately tried to bring what they had seen with their own eyes to light after the discovery was disregarded by academia. However, there was no visible progress or achievement. The area to explore was vast, and the underground tunnels, with weak ground, frequently collapsed. The limited number of individuals, lacking professional knowledge or skills in artifact excavation, could do very little in the middle of a desert struck by daily sandstorms. To overcome this situation, Bruce Russell gathered a group of investors and journalists and headed directly into the underground tunnels. But an unexpected variable occurred. Driven by the idea that they must prove the tangible evidence, they proceeded with excavation recklessly, causing the ground to collapse and burying a significant portion of the underground tunnel section under piles of earth. Afterward, no one believed Russell's words, who barely managed to return to the surface after wandering through the tunnel for a long time. He despaired and shortly after disappeared. Months later, Bruce Russell's car, appearing as though its radiator had exploded, was found in a remote area of Death Valley. A bag containing clothes and personal belongings was still in the car, but he himself was nowhere to be found. Subsequently, the police searched the entire area, but not even a body was found. People say that, cornered, he went into hiding to evade responsibility. Some even claimed that Russell, under pressure, was preparing a new announcement that would shake the foundations of human history, and was killed during that process. Indeed, according to Russell's acquaintances, he was preparing a public press conference with shocking information to make up for his mistake. The surprising thing is that Bruce Russell was not the only one to witness giant mummies and underground tunnels beneath Death Valley. The book, Death Valley Men, published in 1932, records the story of 2 men who fell into an underground tunnel when a mine shaft collapsed. They traveled 20 miles along the tunnels and reached a vast underground space. It is said that there were artifacts that appeared to be crafted from gold and a human mummy in remarkably good condition. After successfully escaping the underground tunnels, they immediately organized an excavation team to search for the underground space again, but reportedly couldn't even find the entrance. Records of a vast underground city in Death Valley date back to even 1920. The ground at a southwestern abandoned mine in Death Valley collapsed, and I fell into a cave below. I thought I was surely going to die, but there was a passage in the ground. Wondering if following it would lead to the surface, I went deep inside and discovered an underground cemetery filled with hundreds of giant mummies, clad in leather robes. I wanted to find that place again, but it was impossible to pinpoint the coordinates of a location I had stumbled upon after wandering for a long time in the vast Death Valley. The miner stated that the reason he could vividly recall what he had seen in the pitch-black underground was because a faint greenish light illuminated the interior of the cemetery. Local hunter Tom Wilson, who heard the story, also recounts a similar tale. He is a descendant of the indigenous American Indian Paiute tribe who lived in the Nevada area. Among the Paiute tribe's legends, there is a story about underground people. There, people with fine skin, clad in leather robes, live. They use their own language and eat food not found on the surface. Anyway, a greenish light illuminated their city, where the sun never rises. Tom Wilson also dedicated his life to finding the underground city, but ultimately closed his eyes in 1986 without finding it. In this rugged land called the Valley of Death, some claim to have seen giant mummies, while others tell legends about underground people living beneath the earth. Though the details vary, strange rumors with the same keywords, giant mummies, underground city, have continued for 70 years, one after another. Somewhere beneath the hot desert, might there perhaps exist traces of an underground civilization and giants that have not yet been found? This has been the repository of wonders.